There's a moment in every pursuit, whether it's romantic, social, or professional, where the dynamic shifts. At first, you're the one reaching out, calling, explaining, trying to prove your value, trying to be seen, heard, and wanted. But then, something changes. You go silent. You walk away. You stop chasing. And suddenly, the people who once ignored you start needing your attention. They start missing your presence. They begin begging to be noticed again. This isn't magic. It's not coincidence. It's psychological warfare. And Machiavelli mastered it before modern psychology even had a name. He understood the brutal truth most people never grasp. The moment they feel you need them, they control you. But the moment they feel they've lost you, they need you back. Humans are built to value what's scarce. It's primal. It's unconscious. It's unbreakable. You chase someone too hard, and they think, why are they so eager? What are they hiding behind this desperation? If they want me this bad, maybe they're not as valuable as I thought. I can get them whenever I want. Now, contrast that with someone who withdraws, who stops responding, who doesn't explain themselves, who disappears without anger, just stillness. Suddenly, the mind flips. Did I do something wrong? Why aren't they chasing anymore? Were they actually better than I realized? What if I lost them for good? This is the essence of Machiavellian reverse psychology. You don't beg to be chosen. You create the illusion that your value was always obvious, and that they were the ones who failed to see it. That illusion is stronger than any argument, any compliment, any explanation. It makes people chase ghosts, and ghosts are unforgettable. Machiavelli didn't believe in constantly reminding people of your worth. He believed in letting absence do the talking. He understood the Roman tactic of strategic withdrawal. In war, if you wanted to trap an enemy, you didn't confront them head-on. You retreated, made them think you were weak, and when they pursued, you struck from the shadows. This same tactic applies to human psychology. Leave a group chat without announcement. Walk away from a one-sided relationship. Ignore a manipulator's last message, not to ghost, but to reset control. Show silence in moments where they expect a reaction. When you do this with intent, you send one loud message. I'm not trying to be in your world. You're trying to be in mine. And the silence hits harder than any confrontation because it leaves them with no closure, no answer, just reflection. And reflection is how guilt, regret, and obsession are born. When you chase someone, whether it's a person, opportunity, or status, you're telling them something without saying a word. You are above me. Your validation defines my value. I will work for your attention. And the more you do that, the more your perceived worth drops. Because power is not just what you have. It's what others believe you can walk away from. People don't chase the person who's chasing them. They chase the person who can leave without fear. This is why Machiavellian strategy always begins with emotional detachment. If you need them, they own you. If you can leave them, you own the frame. And ownership of the frame is how control is maintained without ever needing to argue, explain, or dominate verbally. There's something terrifying about being left in silence. Think of the last time someone stopped talking to you suddenly. No insult, no rage, no closer, just nothing. That void starts to echo. What happened? Why did they leave? Was I not enough? Did they find better? That's not rejection. It's haunting. Machiavelli would argue, a visible enemy is one you can prepare for, but a silent one is your most dangerous opponent. This is why the tactic works so well. Chasing is loud. It announces your intentions, your weaknesses, your emotions. But stopping, withdrawing quietly, it creates mystery. And mystery is the birthplace of obsession. This reversal happens faster than you think, especially in relationships. When you stop validating someone, when you stop feeding their ego, when you stop giving them that subtle emotional meal, they notice. At first, they may ignore it. Then they rationalize it, but eventually, it gnaws at them. They replay the moments you used to chase. They scroll through old messages. They check your profile. They wait for that hey that never comes. And every day that passes, their perception of your value increases. Not because you became better, but because they finally realize you were never the one who needed them. They were the ones who needed your need. And without it, they're left with their own emptiness. Let's kill a common lie. Always express how you feel. Don't play games. Machiavelli would scoff at this advice, because when you express everything, you hand them the blueprint to control you. Emotionally intelligent people don't reveal their feelings out of purity. They reveal them when it serves their position. They use honesty like a dagger, hidden, precise, and only drawn when necessary. So, no, you don't always need to explain yourself. You don't always need to clear the air. You don't always need to talk it out. Sometimes the most strategic move is simple. Go dark. Let the silence become their mirror. That's not immaturity. That's how powerful people reclaim the frame. Stop explaining. Every time you explain, you reduce your mystery. Stop chasing. The moment you stop moving, they become the ones in motion. Stop caring out loud. Care strategically, not emotionally. Withdraw with composure. Don't storm out. Fade like smoke. Calm, composed, unreadable. Let them feel your absence. It will do more than your presence ever could. Control the frame. If they think you've emotionally left the room, they'll do anything to bring you back. In the Machiavellian world of power, the person who controls attention wins. And the way to control attention is not to demand it, but to become scarce when they expect you to stay. Because when you stop chasing, they don't just miss you. They start begging for you back. People only chase what they believe they can lose. They only obsess over what they can't control. They only value what makes them feel uncertain. This is the brutal nature of human psychology. And it's why Machiavelli's most dangerous manipulation tactic is not persuasion, not domination, but removal. You don't need to become louder. You don't need to prove anything. You only need to make one move withdraw. And once you do it the right way, their brain starts to fight itself. The human brain is wired to obsess over the unfinished. Think about this. When someone tells you, "I don't like you," the mind reacts briefly, but moves on. There's closure, an answer, a reason. But when someone doesn't reply, when they don't explain, when they just vanish, your brain can't process it. It replays everything on loop. It fills the silence with questions. This is called the Zygarnik effect, an observed psychological phenomenon where people remember unclosed loops more intensely than resolved ones. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago without the science. What is not explained becomes feared. What is feared becomes powerful. And that's the weapon. Stop chasing. Give them silence. Let them burn their mental energy trying to figure you out. When you chase, you expose for signals. Each one makes you weaker in their eyes. Impatience, which shows you're in a hurry for validation and reveals emotional immaturity. Desperation, which shows you need something from them and shifts all power into their hands. Dependence, as you're psychologically tethered to their response, and they control your mood. And predictability, which makes you boring because there's no edge, no tension, no scarcity. And here's what Machiavelli teaches us. The man who is predictable becomes disposable. When you stop chasing, even abruptly, the contrast becomes magnetic. Not because of what you say, but because of the void you leave behind. This is where it gets ruthless. Even people with options, people who are admired, pursued, validated constantly, fall into this trap. Why? Because ego is a fragile animal. Everyone, no matter how powerful, has this silent belief. If they liked me once, they'll always like me. If I ignore them, they'll try harder. But when you don't, when you stop responding, when you refuse to beg, when you just go silent and rebuild your life without them, their world shatters. They don't beg because they miss you. They beg because you broke the frame they were living in. You proved that they're not as powerful as they believed. And in a world where power is everything, that's worse than heartbreak. Let's clarify something critical. Silence isn't always powerful. It only works when it's intentional. Passive silence is what losers do when they're hurt. They ghost people out of pain, anxiety, or shame. Strategic silence, on the other hand, is a cold weapon. It's measured, purposeful, calm, sharp. It says, "I no longer play this game. You had your chance to engage. Now you don't. Your value in my world has expired. The door didn't close. It disappeared." That kind of silence doesn't make them curious. It makes them desperate to rebuild their sense of control over you. That's why they start chasing. Not because you said anything, but because you stopped saying everything. In any connection, romantic, social, professional, there's a silent question being asked at all times. Who is more replaceable? The person who chases always seems more replaceable because they're behaving like they believe it. But the person who walks away with dignity, calm, and silence shifts the power. They say without saying, I was never chasing you. I was just testing if you deserved me. I am not the one who lost anything. You are. This silence is not rejection, it's elevation. That's when panic sets in. Not anger, not resentment, but an annoying sense of missed opportunity. And nothing haunts the human mind more than what could have been. In romantic withdrawal, you liked them. You showed it, you texted, you tried, they pulled away. You stop, you disappear. No angry message, no guilt trip, no sarcasm, just stillness. 2 weeks later, they view your story. Then like an old post, then message. Hey, been thinking of you. They couldn't handle the vacuum. In business, you pitch an idea. They hesitate. Instead of following up repeatedly, you say one line. All good either way. I'm already in motion. Now, they're confused. Are you walking away? Do you have better options? Suddenly, they want to lock in before you do. In social realignment, you always initiate plans. They flake, delay, make excuses. So, you stop. And when they realize the invites have dried up, they reach out. Not because they missed the plan, but because they missed the attention, the comfort, the feeling of being wanted. And now they want it back. The frame is everything, and you control it by not needing it. Power exists inside frames. The person who frames the interaction, who defines what this is, what it means, and who needs who, controls the entire dynamic. And there is no frame more powerful than the statement, you don't need to choose me, but I don't need to wait either. That's lethal because it's not bitter. It's not emotional. It's not a challenge. It's just truth. And truth is terrifying to people used to being chased. The most Machiavellian thing you can do is live well in their absence. Let them watch you grow. Let them see you shine. Let them realize they were never your destination. They were a detour. That's not revenge. That's what real psychological dominance looks like. And it starts with one simple act. Stop chasing. They'll start begging, and by the time they do, you'll be too far ahead to care. The moment you detach, not dramatically, not emotionally, but strategically is. The moment you trigger their deepest insecurity. What if I was never as important as I thought I was? This is why Machiavelli's teachings don't just apply to rulers and kings. They apply to every moment where power and attention intersect. Romance, friendship, social circles, negotiations, social media. You don't win people by chasing. You win by withholding, by breaking the pattern they've become addicted to. Because once you remove the attention they took for granted, they begin to starve for it. And starvation breeds obsession. People rarely appreciate presence. They only feel it when it's absent. You can give your best to someone, time, energy, affection, support, and they'll treat it like air. Because that's what happens when you give too much without cost. But when you vanish, when the calls stop, when the compliments end, when the silence is louder than the words, they finally realize, wait, that person made me feel something no one else does. Why do I care that they're gone? Did I mess it up? They don't miss you at first. They miss what they used to feel around you. The feeling is what makes them beg. And Machiavelli understood that controlling people's emotions was far more powerful than controlling their logic. Machiavelli would put it like this: men desire most what is withheld and tire of what is freely given. In modern language, attention is a currency, and the more you give, the less it's worth. This is where 99% of people fail. They think consistency equals loyalty, but what they're actually doing is devaluing their presence. When you're always available, when you always respond instantly, when you show up no matter how they treat you, you become emotionally cheap. But when you cut it off, suddenly that attention has value again. They remember how it felt. They remember how rare it is. They remember how safe, special, or powerful they felt when they had it. Now they crave it like a drug, and you've become the only source. Let's dig deeper into the most lethal move, the clean, quiet, vanishing act. It doesn't require ghosting. It doesn't require a dramatic exit. It only requires precision. You stop checking in, you stop explaining, you stop sending signals. You stop filling their gaps with comfort. And here's what makes it so brutal. You don't do it with hatred. You do it with peace. They expect you to argue. They expect you to fight, explain, or beg. But you don't. You just let it in. That's what breaks them, because now they don't even have the satisfaction of knowing they got under your skin. They don't have an ending. They don't even know if you're hurt. They only know one thing. You've moved on, and you did it without them. Here's the internal monologue that slowly takes over. Why did they stop chasing me? Did they meet someone else? Was I not good enough? Were they faking everything this whole time? How could they let go so easily? Notice the pattern. It's no longer about you. It's now about them. Your silence turns into a mirror, and what they see in that mirror terrifies them. You didn't just take away your attention. You took away their sense of significance. Now they don't just want you back. They want the version of themselves they were when you chased them. And the only way to get that feeling again? Beg. You can make this dynamic work without ever saying a word. If you always reply instantly, don't. If you always compliment them, don't. If you always initiate plans, stop. This sudden shift doesn't make you rude. It makes you unpredictable. And unpredictability is magnetic. Most people pull away with drama. They post cryptic quotes, vent to friends, create scenes. That's not strategy. That's emotional leakage. A true Machiavellian disappears clean, without shade, without emotional footprints, because that creates more confusion, and confusion breeds interest. The key to making them chase is not just silence. It's evolution in silence. They left you when you were ordinary. They come back when they see your glow up, whether it's success, style, calmness, or growth. Make your absence look like the best decision you ever made. That's when they realize they didn't lose me. I lost them. Now, here's the final twist. When you stop chasing and they start begging, they won't say, "I missed you." They won't admit weakness directly. They'll say things like, "I was just thinking about you. Remember that time You've changed in a good way. We should catch up." These are just hooks, fishing lines disguised as kindness. Because what they really want is to feel what they used to feel when you chased them. But now the roles have reversed, and you're no longer an option. You're an opportunity. The opportunity they let go and now can't stop trying to get back. Most people pull away because they're hurt. Machiavellian detachment isn't about pain. It's about power. You don't withdraw because you're emotional. You withdraw because you're strategic. And when they feel your absence, not as an insult, but as a calm conclusion, they won't just chase. They'll beg. Because the strongest grip on someone's mind isn't held by words or love or even anger. It's held by the silent question, how did I lose something I thought I could always keep? And that question will echo louder than any closure you could have ever given. The moment they feel your absence, their mind doesn't rest. It wanders. It doubts. It panics. They start remembering things they used to ignore. They reread old messages. They revisit memories. And worst of all, they begin comparing every new interaction to what they had with you. But nothing hits the same. Nothing feels as powerful because you weren't just someone chasing them. You were someone who made them feel important, then vanished without warning, without begging, without a trace. That's what burns. That's what makes them beg. And Machiavelli knew control is not about presence. It's about withdrawal. Eventually, they return. That message comes in, that call that says, "I've been thinking about you." But by the time they do, you're no longer the same. You're not bitter. You're not waiting. You're not broken. You're indifferent. And here's the paradox that Machiavelli would revel in. They only loved the version of you that chased them. But the version they now chase no longer needs them. That is psychological domination at its peak because they aren't just chasing you anymore. They're chasing the chance to matter to you again. And that's a chance you now control. The frame has reversed. You are now the prize. Before you were the one proving, reaching, hoping, texting, showing effort. Now, they're the ones overthinking. They're the ones typing, deleting, retyping. They're the ones waiting for your reply, wondering if it will ever come. And the irony? They didn't see your worth until you stopped offering it. This is the tragedy of modern attention dynamics. People want what they can't have. They don't desire connection. They desire